friends, today I'm going to review Going Off Script by Jen Wilde. I received an arc of this through Edelweiss in exchange for an honest review, and this book is released on May 21st. Going Off Script is a YA contemporary, and it is about Bex, who over the summer goes to LA to do this writing internship at this really popular werewolf TV show. Not only is it her dream job to become a TV show writer, but this show is also her favorite show, so this is like a super exciting opportunity for her. And she also comes from this small town, she's very poor, so she's excited to just be in LA and just kind of really live the LA life, also because she's gay and she hasn't really come out to people at all, and she feels like in LA she just really can kind of, you know, live a gay life and just be very open and honest with it. That's all that I want to say about the synopsis. I went into this not knowing anything at all because I have really loved Jen Wilde's two previous novels, and so I knew that I was interested in it anyway, and I was really glad that I went into it not knowing anything at all. Like, I didn't know any of the drama, any of the twists, and for me that was absolutely the best way to go into it. So this is where I'm gonna leave the synopsis. As always, you can find more on Goodreads on the publisher's page. There's always more out there, but I think that this is everything you need to know. I think if you are interested in the Hollywood life, in the kind of behind the scenes of writing a TV show, and in gay and diverse characters, this is absolutely the book for you. Now, as I said, loved Jen Wilde's two previous novels. I love both Queens of Geek and The Brightsiders was even one of my favorite books of 2018. And I think that Jen Wilde's books have very consistent themes. You can always count on her having a bunch of diverse characters when it comes to race, sexuality, gender, and even mental health and disability. And so that is something that I absolutely love about her books, and that I can kind of know that I can count on. And then also the books will often deal with fame or fandom. It will have famous YouTubers. It will take place at a con. It will be about a famous band or about a famous TV show. And so I think that if you like one of her books, you're probably gonna like all of her other books as well. And this honestly has so far been the case for me with her as well. Although I do have to say that so far, Going Off Script was probably my least favorite, and I'm gonna try and go into why, although I'm having a hard time really pinning it down. Now, as I said, just as Jen Wilde's other books, this features a bunch of diverse characters. The main character is gay, as I said, and she also takes meds for, I don't know if it's ADD, it's never mentioned what exactly, if she has ADD or ADHD, but she definitely takes meds for something like that. I'm no expert with meds when it comes to that, but it's something along those lines. Her love interest is gay and Indian, and then we have a lot of other queer characters. We have a black side character, we have actually several black side characters, just diversity left and right. I know she has sensitivity readers. I obviously can't speak for a lot of the marginalizations, but it is definitely mentioned in her acknowledgements that she has sensitivity readers, and I just think that her books always really seamlessly have diversity in there, and she definitely talks about it a lot too. It's not just okay, we have these marginalized characters and that's just who they are, but she talks a lot about the struggles that they go through, especially, you know, being a public person or a famous person, or playing a certain part on a TV show and stuff like that. So this is definitely a huge topic in this book, just as it is in her other books as well. Now, I think that in Jen Wilde's novels, time is kind of a concept that you kind of have to ignore almost. I think so far in her books, I've always kind of felt like relationships happened a little bit too quickly, just over a couple of days, or you know, just in general, time was always a weird concept in her novels, and this is definitely an issue in Going Off Script as well. It's not my issue. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind when relationships or feelings for other people, when they develop in a really short time, as long as it's well written. But it's something that I want to mention because I know a lot of people are bothered by it. And again, especially if this is your first Jen Wilde novel, I think you're going to be this is happening way too quickly. If you're interested in several of Jen Wilde's novels, then I would not really recommend starting with this one, because there were little cameos of the other characters, and the Brightsiders, the band, was kind of mentioned, and it just really created a really lovely atmosphere for me. And I just love this whole kind of this whole universe of these famous people that we already know about, and it's really lovely if you've read the other books. So if you're interested in her other books at all, then I would say just read them first before you read this one. Now, I definitely loved all of the characters. I think this is something that Jen Wilde absolutely exceeds at every time. They are all lovely. The relationships and friendships between them are absolutely lovely. And I think my favorite part of this whole book was probably the romance between Bex and her love interest. Jen Wilde just writes beautiful romances, and like, I don't care how quickly they happen and in how many days they develop feelings for each other. I don't give a shit, because at the end of the day, it's just so well written, and the scenes where you kind of see them fall for each other are so beautiful. I think that she writes really good make-out scenes. Just gotta mention that. So I think actually, funnily, even though this was maybe my least favorite book in a still really good sense. I just love the other two books so much. But I think even though this might be my least favorite book, I think this is probably my favorite romance out of the three books. So that definitely says something. I also think that the character development that the main character goes through, not through the romance, but kind of because it's hard to explain, but like, she has some character development about, her family and like growing up poor, and her love interest is from a really wealthy family, and just kind of dealing with that and dealing with, being poor and coming from that place, being in this place where everybody seems kind of rich and wealthy, and she really kind of starts to realize that where she is at now is only because of the hard work that her mother does. And I think that was really lovely. In general, we don't really see a relationship between Bex and her mother, but she definitely throughout the novel starts to understand that she wouldn't be where she's at if it wasn't for her mother. And it was just really lovely to kind of see her understand that and talk to her love interest about this as well, even though at first she kind of feels ashamed of, her origins. Now, I think my biggest issue with this novel was kind of the drama, or rather the way that it starts. I think that what happens in this novel opens a really, really important discussion, and that discussion gets handled incredibly well. It's just that it's one of those cases where the main character is just conveniently stupid, and as soon as a thing happened that later ended up causing the drama, I knew that this is not going to go well. I was just kind of like, this is too convenient, and I hate convenient stupidity in books. It just makes me really angry, and it's just one of those cases where that just kind of made me be like, ugh. But again, I think just looking overall at how it was handled, I thought that it turned out much better than I thought it was, and it also got kind of talked about way earlier than I thought. It's not one of those, Jen Wilde's books are always short, so it's not like you have a lot of time for this anyway, but it's not one of those books where the drama gets like dragged out so much until it kind of gets cleared up. There's different issues that kind of come to surface through this initial drama, and so I think that it was done okay. It's just that I cannot get over the fact that what caused this was just convenient stupidity. Just pisses me off. In general, as I said, Jen Wilde's books are always short, and I think this is one of the few books where I definitely think the book could have been a little bit longer. Usually I don't mind the shortness of her books at all, and I think it works for her and her stories. But in this one, I think she was trying to cram in so many things, and there's just so many issues. I just wanted a little bit more time to talk about these issues, but then at the end, still get more from the characters. I think that the way the issues were solved and talked about was fine, but then I was missing just a little bit more of the characters. Like, I just felt a little bit unsatisfied with the way the characters' storylines ended. The overall plot finished and good. It's just that I'm like, okay, but I want to know where the characters are going to go, because I feel like there was so much character development happening, but then we don't really see these developed characters really acting with that, developed character. You know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of like, okay, now this character has kind of changed in that way, and then the story ended, instead of kind of seeing this changed character living like that for a little bit. So yeah, in general, I want to make very clear that I think this is a really good novel. I think this is super enjoyable. I read this in one day. It's so easy to read, and I just love Jen Wilde, and I want to support her, and I will probably support her for the rest of my reading life. But I just felt a little bit disappointed with some of the things in the book, but then at the same time I also think that it talks about a lot of really important issues. There's a lot of homophobia, racism, and just talking about these issues in the business, and that, you know, LA is not like the perfect city where everybody is happy and everybody can just live their like true self, but that there is shit going on behind the scenes as well, and that sometimes people might seem that they are like allies to different marginalizations, but then behind the scenes you see that that's actually not true. And I think there's just a lot of important discussion about these things going on, and I'm so happy that Jen Wilde keeps doing the work and talking about these things. But there's just a couple of things that I just wanted a little bit more from, and I just kind of don't feel quite satisfied with this book. It's hard for me to really grasp it because I think that all of her books are kind of flawed in that way, but for some reason Going Off Script didn't quite hit me where the other books hit me, which just made me realize that also like I definitely didn't have as huge of an emotional connection, which definitely makes for me not loving it as much as well. I think I kind of explained some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like so much. I, again, would still highly recommend that. I think at the end of the day, it is a wonderful book. And I think if you like queer books and you like reading about, you know, famous people and TV shows and the kind of behind the scenes of that, then I think you will enjoy it. I have not read Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour in a really long time, but I'm pretty sure that if you like Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour, then this book would probably be for you as well. So yeah, these are all of my thoughts on Going Off Script by Jen Wilde. If you have already read the book, please let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. If you had some similar criticism, or if you just straight out loved it. I definitely think if I had a little bit more on the characters and a little bit more of an emotional connection, I totally could have been like 5 stars. I don't care about the flaws. But that's just how it is sometimes. If you haven't read the book yet, let me know if you're excited for its release and if you've loved Jen Wilde's other books. I make new videos every Wednesday and Sunday with occasional reviews on Friday, so click subscribe to never miss anything and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. And thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!